Hello, 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 and welcome. Today is Wednesday, January the 8th, 2025, and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. So, I'm excited about this. New year always gets me excited. New things like a new planner. I got a new notebook for work. It's like all these new things, right? So, there's a freshness that comes with 2025. And so I have a new affirmation calendar. So this one just spoke to me because it said, "You are a badass." So this is by Jen Sincero. And I just thought I'd share with you today's affirmation. You are a badass. Give your bad habits the heave ho, because our habits are all the things that we do automatically without thinking. They help to define who we are. If you're in the habit of getting up and working out every morning, you're in shape. If you're in the habit of never doing what you say you're going to do, you're unreliable. And if you're in the habit of getting massages 3 times a week, you're really psyched. So I love that. I can't quite get the massages 3 times a week, but I do like the idea of looking at our habits. And so this is a great time to do it. Let's kick off the new year. What are you doing to change some of your habits today? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news because there's a lot of it. We've been out for a while and there's a lot to cover. Okay, so this is from Ignite's Long-Term Care News, and there's an article that says agency nurses linked to lower CMS nursing home quality ratings. A new study involving more than 80,000 U.S. nursing homes has found a link between the use of staffing agency nurses and lower quality ratings in the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services 5-star system. The use of agency registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, and certified nursing assistants decreased the facility's chance of attaining higher star ratings by 4%, 5%, and 4%, respectively, researchers discovered. Investigators affiliated with a handful of U.S. universities analyzed facility results from 2017 to 2022 to reach their conclusions. Researchers said that the transient nature of agency nursing staff can create significant challenges for residents and permanent staff members. Agency nurses have less familiarity with residents' specific needs and facility protocols, potentially impacting continuity and consistency in care. Their presence may also create issues for permanent nursing staff who may feel that they have to guide the agency nursing staff. That's from Rohit Pradhan, the health services researcher at Texas State University. Nursing home information was used from secondary data sets, including the payroll-based journal, ltcfocus.org, area health resource files, and rural urban community area codes. When the data was merged, researchers saw that agency nursing staff hours had increased during the study period for all categories, jumping from 2% to 9% for RNs and CNAs, and 2% to 11% for LPNs. That was at least partially influenced by the start of the pandemic. So I will have to say that this isn't something that shouldn't be surprising, particularly for those of you who watch the show, because what we found is that oftentimes things have happened because people are unfamiliar with the protocols. They don't know what to do with the next steps. And how can you, and sometimes in long-term care, be an agency nurse expected to take care of 60 patients on night shift, and you don't know who to call in an emergency? So those are some of those issues that come up. So I'm not surprised by these findings. And it would make sense that if you had consistent nursing staff, things would go a lot better. So here's some of the further information. It says the high cost of employing contract nurses, along with these less optimal patient outcomes when using them, are two big reasons providers are trying to shed them altogether. With McKnight's Long-Term Care News asked directors of nursing, associate directors of nursing, administrators, etc., and their 2024 Mood of Market survey, what good things happened at work over the last year. More than 36% cited less use of agency staff. And so I can understand that. I can understand that if you get more staff, that continuity, that consistency, you get to know the residents, their likes or dislikes. So it's a lot easier when you're already familiar with your patients. And there is a high cost with that. So if you want to know more about this study, go ahead and head on over to McKnight's Long-Term Care News. You'll find more information there as well. All right, let's get on to our next story because, again, like I said, we've got a lot to cover. Okay, so I decided to go ahead and cover this because, again, this is on the areas of what not to do. And please take care of yourself in your practice, okay? So it says nursing staff members charged in the death of a nonverbal patient at West Virginia Hospital. And I'll give you more information here. So this is coming out of, I think this is ABC News. If it's not, I'll correct that in a moment. Okay. So WBOY is where it's coming from. So Charleston, West Virginia. It says a nurse and a nursing assistant have been charged in relation to an incident last year at Hopemont Hospital in Preston County, where a nonverbal patient was left in scalding water and sustained burns that eventually led to his death. Now, I have to stop and say, first of all, if you're going to put somebody in a tub, you don't leave them. That's why when I train the CNAs, I tell them, hey, gather all your supplies before you get the resident in there because you don't want to leave them in a compromising position where something like this could happen. So the West Virginia Department of Health Facilities first announced in January 2024 that two contract staff, so this is another thing, contract staff were on leave after a patient was treated for burns after a water tank thermostat malfunction. So again, part of this is a system error, something within the facility, their thermostat malfunction, okay? This is why I say, please protect yourself. On Wednesday, Attorney General Patrick Morrissey announced that the registered nurse Delilah Claiborne Hill of Buchanan and certified nursing assistant Kyla Baird of Morgantown have been charged with felony neglect of an incapacitated adult by a caregiver resulting in the incapacitated adult's death. Ooh, that's a lot to say. Felony neglect of an incapacitated adult by a caregiver resulting in the incapacitated adult's death. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. All right. So it says the release said that the nonverbal patient, 61-year-old Larry Hedrick, was left in scalding hot bath of 134-degree water for 47 minutes. First of all, why was he in the bathtub for 47 minutes? That's the other thing. I'm like, you want to get him in and get him out. Why is he in there for 47 minutes? He sustained second and third degree burns and blisters on his feet and legs. According to the investigation, Beard allegedly did not check the temperature of the water before helping him into the tub and then left him. And that's what I said. You always check the temperature. You have the resident check the temperature. Well, now, obviously, he's not verbal before he gets in. But had she checked that temperature, she would have known that's too hot to put somebody in there. And you certainly wouldn't leave him there for over 45 minutes. Okay. So after the incident, Hill, this is a nurse, was informed of the burns and blisters on the victim, but allegedly did not give him proper treatment or pain medication. First of all, if he had those burns, he should have been sent immediately to the hospital. It says he was later taken to West Penn Hospital Nursing Burn Trauma Unit, where he died from his injuries on January 12th, 2024. So again, we're going to see what happens with this case. We'll keep an eye on it. But I bring these things up not to bash any particular facility or, throw the names out of these individuals. So again, because even though they've been arrested, they're still innocent until proven guilty. But I say this, I use this as a teaching moment. These are things not to do. Don't do. And I have a lot of nursing students and CNAs who watch our show. And I want you to know this is how you get into trouble. I train CNAs and I'm telling you, this is how you get into trouble by not using your common sense and following the procedures. There's a reason why we teach you the procedures. Okay. All right. So let's get on to it. So we have another article. And here we go. And this is from The Guardian, and it says, it didn't used to be like this. Woeful U.S. healthcare system exposed by CEO unaliving. You know what I mean? This is also going on YouTube. Here we go. So, the fatality of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, has polarized discussions about the U.S. health insurance system have not abated, with thousands of Americans continuing to share their struggles and having their health care covered. Hundreds of people from across the U.S. shared their frustrations with The Guardian, too, explaining how their lives have been shaped by their experiences of trying to access health care in the U.S. While many reported that their health coverage had worsened in many years, I have to say that's kind of true, particularly in 2024. And I can say that is true because I noticed a lot more denials for medications and things like that, more hoops to jump through for some of our patients. It's really difficult on the provider side. I'm just going to tell you. Okay. So it says Elizabeth, a 64-year-old retiree from Maryland, had already experienced the system's brutality more than 20 years ago when she lived in California and was involved in a serious car accident during a business trip to another state in 2002. She says, I was treated at a trauma hospital for 3 days. My insurer denied coverage because the care had not been pre-approved and because the accident was not in California. It was insane. Okay, so they're basically saying, well, we're not going to cover that because you were in an accident somewhere else. You got treatment somewhere else, so probably out of network. And then, oh, by the way, you didn't tell us you were going to get into an accident. Make that make sense, right? So she said only repeated calls by her employer's head of HR persuaded the insurer to eventually partially cover her treatment. She said, I was very, very lucky. Health insurance in the U.S. is a constant battle. You always are trying to get stuff covered. You're always told that things are being denied, which is true. It's too much. That's too much. The same insurance company later denied coverage for a standard chemotherapy drug, which her oncologist wanted to treat her stage 3 breast cancer. So again, they got medications that should be on their formulary, but they're picking and choosing, right? And not wanting to cover things. She said her doctor persuaded the drug representative to donate the medication. I was very sick for 2 years, but I had to keep working. My husband had just been laid off, and I had health insurance. So she wasn't even able to stop working during her cancer treatment because she needed to keep her insurance. This is the insanity of healthcare in America. After adding her husband to her policy, her insurance cost more than doubled. While the chemo made her so nauseous that she threw up in her coffee cups in her car after work. She said it was very hard. After surviving cancer, I decided I had to find a job with a university because they would have to provide health insurance, whereas a small business or nonprofit might not. And so this is where a lot of times you are stuck in some of these positions because you can't go and work somewhere else if they don't offer you benefits. And I see this time and time again. I have so many of my clients who come in and they want to be on their health insurance, but they can't afford it. Or if they change from Medicaid to another health insurance, commercial insurance, suddenly they have to pay so much money out of pocket, all these copays for their medications, and they can no longer manage their chronic illness because they can't can't pay for the medication. So it's just a horrible, horrible cycle. So by the way, she also has 2 master's degrees. She took them off her CV to get hired for a university job that she was overqualified for, accepting a healthy career downgrade, as well as a substantial pay cut she never made up again. She says, I know a lot of people who have wrecked their careers in this way just to get health insurance. People from all states and ages and backgrounds shared how coverage for prescribed, often critical treatments had been denied or only approved after lengthy delays and months or years of arguing with the insurer, and often only with the help of legal counsel. Scores of people reported that the insurer had sent them automated rejections, ignored correspondence for months, or changed their rules for coverage arbitrarily and frequently, moves that they perceived as efforts to evade paying out for claims. And so what happens is they'll cover a medication, then they'll change the formulary and say, oh, we'll no longer cover it. So you've been stable in your medicine for years, and now we have to change your medicine. That happened to one of my clients. He was doing very well on his injection. He was getting it every month. He was doing very well. And suddenly they decided they weren't going to cover it anymore. So there's more to this story. I want you to read this. Go ahead and go to The Guardian and read the rest of the story. But this is a reality that we face in the U.S. with healthcare. Here's a little bit maybe of good news. This is from Healthcare Finance News, and it says CFPB to remove medical debt from credit reports. Under a new rule finalized this week by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, medical bills will no longer be included on credit reports, a move the CFPB expects to remove an estimated $49 billion in medical bills from credit reports of about 15 million Americans. The rule will ban the inclusion of medical bills on credit reports used by lenders and prohibit lenders from using medical information in their lending decisions, which they should not have access to. You should not have access to that. It also increases privacy protections that prevent debt collectors from using the credit reporting system to coerce people to pay bills they don't owe. Medical debts provide little predictive value to lenders about borrowers' ability to repay the other debts, and consumers frequently report receiving inaccurate bills or being asked to pay bills that should have been covered by insurance or financial assistance programs, which is exactly what happens all the time. And this is why I always say, when you get a bill from your provider, the hospital, ask for an itemized bill, go line through line from that. I did that with one of my husband's hospital stays. They were billing him for the use of a CPAP from respiratory therapy, but it was his own CPAP that he was using, and we provided the water for it. They didn't even provide the water for it. So no, respiratory therapy didn't do anything and should not have been charging anything for that, and we were able to fight that. So again, look at these bills and make sure you get an itemized bill and go line through line. Okay. People who get sick shouldn't have their financial future upended, said CFPB Director Rohit Chopra. The CFPB's final rule will close a special carve-out that has allowed debt collectors to abuse the credit reporting system to coerce people into paying medical bills they may not even owe. So there's more to this information. Please head on over to Healthcare Finance News to read that. But that's a little bit of good news to help protect us on the consumer side. Okay, so this is a warning I want everybody to take, okay? Because I never would have thought of this, never would have heard of this, but it's happening, and apparently it's happened more than once. But this happens to be a physician that got targeted by a deep fake ad scam. Okay, I just found this and I was like, oh, I'm going to share this. This is from MedPage Today. It says a well-known endocrinologist in New Zealand was recently the victim of a deep fake scam, according to reporting for the New Zealand Herald. The likeness of Sir Jim Mann, DM, PhD, MA of the University of Otago, was used in a deep fake news video that circulated on social media after being posted to a Facebook page for a company that sells hemp gummies. In the video, the fake man urged people with type 2 diabetes to stop taking the gold standard medication, metformin, and instead use alternative natural products. Though the post has been reportedly removed, Mann told the Herald that it has since occasionally resurfaced and that he only learned of its existence when someone texted him about it. He says, I was just bombarded after that with text emails from two groups of people. One group saying, congratulations on this wonderful new product that you discovered, and great that you exposed all these medics and other people as being frauds. Where can I get the product? And the other people who said, for goodness sake, be aware you've been scammed. There were some really very reasonable, intelligent people who had completely taken it, including people that I know well. Goodness knows how many people have been taken in. AI is so clever that they could manipulate my mouth to be looking as if I was saying those words. So again, healthcare professionals, particularly those of us that are on social media, pay attention. And so, yeah, this is another case. They said in November, a Los Angeles-based podiatrist and social media personality, Dana Brems, said in an Instagram post that a company used AI to make a fake recording of her voice. The post showed Brems reacting, mouth covered in dismay, to what she said was an advertisement that used an AI clone of my voice to pretend I recommended their product. Social media posts from Brims about the ad, which appeared to be for an ear cleaning device, racked up views with many commenters pointing to the potential harms of fake health related recommendations tied to medical professionals. So I'm going to say this again. Please, if you're getting your social media and you're looking at it and people are recommending stuff, look into it. Look into the company, look into the treatment, try to find the actual studies, look for it, because this is where I get a lot of companies that approach me and ask me, hey, can you get my product? Will you send it to your patients? I don't do that kind of stuff because I want to know the science behind anything that I'm going to put my name to. And so there's a lot of fake stuff out there. People are falling for anything. I'm going to leave that one alone because it'll get my blood pressure up if I start talking more about it. But again, people will fall for anything. And yeah, there we go. All right, let's get to our next story. We'll get to this story and these next two stories, then we're going to take a brief break. Okay. All right, so this one came out of the Sand Hill Sentinel, and this is really sad. And I'm bringing this up again, and I'm going to bring these stories when I find out that they're not doing things to keep healthcare workers safe. It says ER nurse attacked by patient. Early Monday morning, a nurse was attacked by a patient while working her shift in the emergency department of Moore Regional Hospital. The injuries were so severe that the nurse, Crystal Thompson, had to receive immediate medical treatment. First Health told Sand Hill Sentinel that an officer with the Pinehurst Police Department was in the emergency room for an unrelated matter, which I think is the one reason why things were actually escalated and taken to where they should have been, because oftentimes hospital administration will just sweep it under the rug and ask the nurse, well, what did you do? What could you have done differently to prevent this? I guarantee you, this is an unprovoked attack, according to the report. The officer responded immediately, and the attacker was arrested and taken into custody. First Health said in a statement, it is unclear what led to the attack, and the incident is currently under investigation. In other words, yeah. The incident highlights a growing concern seen across the country. Violence against healthcare workers is a critical issue, and we prioritize the safety and support for our dedicated teams who work tirelessly to care for others. The hospital did not release the name of the patient who attacked Thompson, but according to the arrest records, 35-year-old Carla Hardy was arrested and charged with assault and physical injury on emergency personnel and resisting a public officer. She was booked into the Moore County Detention Center under a $10,000 bond. So this again, I'm going to say this wasn't like someone with dementia or anything like that, as far as we know, right? She's 35. I don't know what brought this on, but this is terrible. Thompson, who has worked as a nurse for 17 years, sustained a broken bone and a broken knee. According to a GoFundMe page that has raised over $20,000 as of Wednesday, a co-worker initiated the fundraiser to assist Thompson and her family during her time out of work. A nurse that I work with was severely injured following a targeted attack by a patient. So this is what it says. Targeted attack, according to the page. I wasn't there, but I know that Crystal is an amazing nurse. She has helped and saved so many lives throughout her career. To wake up to her post this morning was heartbreaking. She will be out of work for months at least, and her income significantly contributed to the financial stability of her family. How many of us as nurses are the ones that are taking care of our family, covering for our family, So, yeah. So this would be devastating. And we have to do better, folks. We just have to do better. So this is what the fundraiser copied from her social media post that Thompson had made. She said, as I lay here tonight thinking about the road ahead of me, I question my life's career decisions. A patient physically attacked me last night in the ER, placing me in a chokehold, slamming my head onto the floor, breaking a bone, and destroying my knee, which will likely require surgery to repair. I made a decision 17 years ago to serve my community, and last night's events made me question why. And this is a question many nurses have been asking themselves. Again, Something has to be done. Something has to be done. And just saying, oh, well, we've got extra security nowhere around. We've got, we'll have a team. You hit a little button. There has to be something done. Okay. So we're going to go to this next story because this is a follow up of a story that I think I reported on maybe a year or two ago. It was a while ago. So I wanted to follow this up and then we'll take a break. This is from Fox News. And it says former St. Louis prosecutor Kim Gardner spent hundreds of hours on nursing degree scathing audit fines. Now, again, this is what's reported in the news. And I'm not picking on this particular person, but this is again what not to do. And so it says former St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kimberly Gardner failed to, quote, make her job as a circuit attorney her top priority, according to the report. Republican Missouri State Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick released a 71-page report on Tuesday, as well as a press release that supported a previous statement of Gardner being the captain of, quote, a rudderless ship of chaos, as she pursued a nurse practitioner certification during the hours she should have been doing her job. The former Democratic prosecutor, and again, I'm not as worried about Republican or Democrat on this thing. This is what, again, I'm just saying what you should not be doing. Spent 34.5 working hours or working days or about 7 weeks in the office during business hours working on her studies at St. Louis University. In my view, the driving force was Kim Gardner's failure to make her job as a circuit attorney her top priority, Fitzpatrick told St. Louis Post-Dispatch. So his review also found widespread staff turnover, misuse of public funds, and a significant drop in cases filed, referred, and closed before Gardner resigned under fire in 2023. So again, this was back in 2023 when I first reported this. Other issues cited in the audit included more than $58,000 in public funds spent on flowers, a disc jockey, car detailing, an office picnic, a chili cookout, and Gardner's personal legal expenses. Gardner told auditors that she was pursuing a family nurse practitioner postmaster certificate, quote, to improve the office and bring mental health awareness to the office. She was part of a movement. And see, again, this is where I don't like. This is Fox, and so I'm sorry, but you're painting all this stuff as political, and I'm going to say this is just giving care. But basically, she is part of a group of prosecutors who sought diversion to mental health treatment or drug abuse treatment for low-level crimes, which makes sense. Fix the problem. Sticking them in jail doesn't fix the problem. It probably makes it even worse because now they can't come out and get decent jobs and take care of their families once they get sober and once their mental illness is taken care of. People with mental illness don't belong in prison unless there's something, really serious that they've done. So this makes sense. I'm just saying. So call me progressive, whatever you want to, Fox. But I don't like the way they're labeling things here. It just tell the story without all the inflammatory language, please, okay? Because I know what you're trying to do. The only reason why I'm following up is because I want you to hear what was going on. And so this is why I say, nurses, when you you're doing your stuff, do your stuff, right? Keep it away from what you're doing on your other job. So anyway, there's a whole article with this, a summary from this Scott Fitzpatrick here that you look at. Again, I'm not going to get into all of this stuff because, it's very political, and I don't like to delve into politics too much. But I just wanted to follow up because we did report on that the last time, and I thought we should follow up on it. All right, let's go ahead and take a break as I try to take a calm down moment. All right. Bullying, poor staffing, stagnant wages, no work-life balance. Stop being eaten alive. Find your joy, strength, and happiness. Become the leader you are always meant to be. Nurse entrepreneurs are using their skills to launch successful businesses every day. Make your dreams come true. Join the Nurse Shark Academy and come feel the sun at the nursesharkacademy.biz. All right, let's get into our next story. This came from Iowa Dispatch. I I included this. Again, this is a what not to do story. I don't like the whole let's bash nurses campaign that's been going on and all this stuff, but I bring this up because to me this is teaching moments. So it says nurses license reinstated after sanctions for home health violations, and I do applaud the State Board of Nursing for working with this nurse. Okay. So it says the state of Iowa has agreed to reinstate the license of a nurse previously sanctioned for failing to make multiple home health visits to patients. In July of 2020, the Iowa Board of Nursing charged registered nurse Tamisha Renee Bamatu, then known as Tamisha Renee Jacobs, with failing to properly assess or evaluate patient status and committing an act that might adversely affect a patient. The board alleged that between October 2019 and January 2020, Bamato was working for an unspecified home health agency when she repeatedly failed to make multiple scheduled visits to patients' homes, failed to properly document visits she did make, failed to inform her employer of the missed visits, and failed to inform physicians of scheduling nursing visits that had been ordered. In October of 2020, the board settled the matter by agreeing to let Bamato keep her license subject to 1-year probation, during which she'd be barred from working in a home health care setting and be required to complete a total of 15 hours of educational training on ethics, professional accountability, and medical documentation. As a condition of probation, she also was required to produce for a case manager monthly reports of her work activity. According to the board, Bamato then failed to check in with her case manager or complete the required educational training. Why? So something else had to be going on. There has to be something else going on in this woman's life. I don't know what it is, but there's something else had to be going on. Okay. So in May of 2021, she entered into a second settlement agreement with the board, resulting in her license again being placed on probation for 1 year, during which time she was again barred from working in home health. In December 2021, Bamato agreed to voluntarily surrender her license with the understanding that she'd be barred from applying for reinstatement for 1 full year. So it sounds like she never followed through with what she was required to do. So this again makes me wonder, something else was going on. Since state records indicate Bamato then opened a Pots and Shots, a West Des Moines cocktail bar combined with a plant store. The business was reportedly sold in early 2024, after which Bamato applied for reinstatement of her nursing license. The board recently agreed to the application, noting that she, quote, has not had any further discipline or criminal charges. Well, probably because she hadn't been working as a nurse, but anyway. The agreement places her license on probation for 1 year, during which time she will again be required to produce monthly reports for a case manager. The agreement includes no restrictions on her ability to work in home health. Court records indicate Bamato, now 37, has 3 2010 convictions for fifth-degree theft, a 2011 conviction for fifth-degree theft, and a 2013 convictions for public intoxication and operating a vehicle while under the influence. State records indicate that in 2015, she worked with the Iowa Department of Human Services as a social work associate. So again, like I said, I hope she gets things back on track for her. I wish her well, but I'm just saying, I'm bringing this up because nurses, if you have something from the Board of Nursing and they tell you to do these steps, follow through. Don't do that, and certainly don't falsify documents saying you made visits when you didn't. This is why I say you'd have to know how to properly document and cover your behind. Okay. All right, here's another one. I hate to report it, but here's another one. And I'm going to keep saying it until we talk about it. So again, this is again that nurse. This is another story about that nurse that was attacked by the ER. They said they don't know what led up to the attack again. Hardy, they did identify Hardy, and she was charged with felony assault. She is going to appear in court in January 22nd. So hopefully we'll find out more about what's going on and what provoked this. Not that, it's going to change the outcome, but it may give us a clue into how we can prevent it going forward. Okay, so I got to go to this story. I got to do the original story first and then talk about it. So hold on one second. Let's see if I can find this story. I know it's on here, but I had a lot. Here it is. Okay. So this come back to good old Indiana, and I'm not exactly sure where this is. Waka- Wakarusa, Indiana. Not sure where this is, but this is from WNDU 16 News. Okay. So this is about Waters of Wakarusa Nursing Home. Okay. And it says cries for help are getting louder in Wakarusa. Over a dozen people are telling WNDU 16 News now that they quit their job at the Waters of Wakarusa nursing home, and they say change needs to happen. So the news team sat down with 6 former employees who were all staying anonymous. One employee says it's a mess over there. That mess, according to them, is a situation unfolding at the Waters of Wakarusa. One, I guess, worker said it was no longer a place that I could be proud to work at. If someone with such a veteran status is leaving the facility, it sort of says we're at the end of our ropes here. They say that the Waters used to have a strong reputation that took a turn when a new administrator started in early 2024. We all worked in Wakarusa, and it was a wonderful organization. Everybody cared. We worked incredibly hard. We did a lot of good things, and we worked as a team, and that's what healthcare needs. And that was all lost. The former employees said short staffing and tight resources set them up to fail every day. It's just wears on you because you want to do a good job and you're given roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. The resources are so scarce, you can't function. And the numbers support that the Waters of Wakarusa is under major staffing shortage. According to the Centers of Medicaid and Medicaid Services, Waters of Wakarusa has 1 out of 5 stars in the staffing category. Is that a surprise to you? Said Carolyn Clapp, asked a former employee. She said, not at all, not at all. The CMS data is fairly detailed, comparing the number of hours of nurse staff per resident to the state and national average. The national and state average are close, around 3 hours and 50 minutes a day. According to the latest numbers in October, the Waters of Wakarusa has about an hour less of nursing care a day, about 2 hours and 50 minutes. Those 6 former employees say they felt the effects of that every day. How do you begin to put them to bed at night? How do you begin to feed those who need fed? To take everybody to the bathroom and dress them. So the nurse is having to help you, but then where does the nurse find the time to do the wound care and all the care that needs to be done? Another former employee says a friend who visited was also disturbed. They tell us of concerns that were brought to the current administrator. One comment one time was, I might not have anyone to work in the building. It's not funny. We're taking care of people. We need to figure out what we need to do to keep people and not have everyone putting in their notices. But other times, they said the current administrator would take a different approach. The current leadership there would yell at people, other management staff, in front of the entire management team and belittle them and berate them. And I saw that time and time again. The former employees say they also have contacted the company that owns Waters of Wakarusa, as well as the State Department of Health. One former employee even started a petition signed by 26 employees. One of the signers of the petition said that they walked in on a resident trying to transfer another resident to the toilet. These are patients that are in wheelchairs that can't handle any weight. These residents, they're just not noticing. They are sort of taking action into their own hands because they are at their wits' end. The residents is why these former employees say they're sharing their story. We had a past administrator tell me once, told all of us often, treat every day like it's the resident's last day, and I never forgot that. We want the residents protected. We want them safe. We want them to enjoy life, and it's not happening right now. Leadership needs to change. The Waters of Wakarusa website shows they're hiring for cooks, dietary aides, CNAs, RNs, and LPNs. Nobody deserves what happened today at Wakarusa. Nobody deserves that, and it's not right, and it's not normal. I think if the State Board of Health does come in, they really need to look at it. So the news channel did reach out to Johnson Memorial Hospital, who's listed as the owner. who is also managed by Infinity Healthcare Consulting. They reached out to Infinity as well. They did not respond for an interview, but did send a statement, the usual statement. They're working hard. They're trying to get staff. They want to have open communication. They have initiated staff feedback program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can read that if you want to. But here's the kicker. So that was the original story. I started out following up on this story that I found and then went back to the original. So it's Indiana Department of Health at Wakarusa Nursing Home following I-Team report. So sometimes things do happen. So less than 1 week after I-Team report, walking away from the waters aired, the Indiana Department of Health is at the waters of Wakarusa Nursing Home. In that story, we sat down with 6 former employees. They said they quit their jobs because staffing was so strained. They also said they experienced a toxic work environment. So it says the former employees said the new administrator needs to be hired in order for the situation to improve. It does show a picture that they do have their survey going on in their building until the 10th. They reached out to the Indiana Department of Health to find out more. They declined to respond. Also, they did not allow the news team to follow up to talk to the staff or allow them in the building. So they, other than releasing that report, that's all they said. So again, I'm just saying, protect yourself, because as we saw in other places, you could just be working, and the next thing you know, they're going to yank you and put you in jail for neglect. And it's not your, you know what I'm saying? You're there trying to take care of people. So protect yourself, protect your license. Do that. Okay. This is another quick warning. What's going on in the world today? Just a little note, a little transfer of topics here from CBS News. It says it feels like everyone has a stomach bug. A new norovirus strain might be to blame, CDC data suggests. A new strain of norovirus now makes up a majority of outbreaks nationwide, according to data for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The new strain's emergence, found spreading through the country and on cruise ships, offers a possible explanation for the past month's steep wave of infections from the stomach bug. Scientists call this winter's dominant norovirus strain G217. Samples from patients in nearly 7 out of the 10 norovirus outbreaks have tested positive for the new strain. It says it's too early to tell if the strain is associated with more severe norovirus, but likely lower population immunity is the reason for the early surge of an otherwise seasonal increase of this virus. So we'll keep an eye on that. But if you're going to be on a cruise anytime soon, or any type of place you're going to be around a lot of people, please make sure you do your due diligence, clean up, wash your hands, all the things that you can. It says norovirus is the most common cause of foodborne illness in the U.S. and almost climbs around the country starting during the winter months, probably because we're in close quarters. Many cases resolve on their own without needing to be tested or treated by doctors, making it impossible to know exactly how many Americans are sick. And however, virtually all data tracking the virus suggests norovirus is at peak levels throughout the country. Rates of positive norovirus tests from different CDC network or laboratories have reached the highest weekly levels in records in years. So again, just to say, wash your hands, do your due diligence. If you want to read more about this, you can. All this good stuff. Okay? All right. Here's a little bit of good news, I think. We'll see how it shakes out. It says Massachusetts adopts amendment protecting nurses who provide reproductive care from WCVB ABC out of Boston. An emergency amendment protecting Massachusetts nurses who provide reproductive care from discipline was adopted Wednesday by Governor Maura Healey. The law ensures nurses will not be fired or disciplined for assisting in reproductive health care services in Massachusetts. Healey says, when Roe was overturned, we worked with the legislature to take immediate action to protect providers and patients from liability for providing or receiving an abortion. Today, with attacks on reproductive health care and providers escalating across the country, we're proud to take action to further strengthen those protections. In Massachusetts, we're always going to protect people's rights and freedoms, and we're going to make sure that everyone can access the high quality health care they need. The approved emergency aspect of the amendment allows it to go into effect for 3 months while it's being reviewed on the regular timeline. Public comment will also be heard, and the amendment may be finalized by the Board of Registration. So here are the licensure boards that will consider the amendments within the next several weeks. So beginning tomorrow, you have the Board of Registration in Medicine, Pharmacy, and Physical Assistants. On January 10th, the Board of Registration for Psychologists. January 28th, the Board of Registration for Social Workers. And February 6th, the Board of Registration for Genetic Counselors. So I understand, because again, you're working at your job as a nurse. And I'm not talking about just, there may be an emergency situation that happens. You're trying to do the best for your patient. You have an obligation to take care of the patient that's in front of you at the time. And I don't want to see nurses get caught up in a political fight and nurses being, pulled into that. So I kind of support that, because I don't want nurses to be caught up in fodder for somebody's whatever they want to do. Okay, so that's I just don't like that. I don't like us being put in the middle of politics for stuff that doesn't have to do with politics, if you know what I'm saying. So if somebody has an emergency and something happens, they have to have surgery, the life of the mother is in danger. I don't want the nurse to feel like, I don't want to take this case. I don't want to assist in this surgery. I don't want to do something because I might go to jail. And that's a real fear. That's a real fear from providers. And so there's a lot of concerns with that. And so you have stories of women who are denied care and treatment because there's a fear as the healthcare provider that I might be put in jail. And I just think that's just going too far, and that's wrong. Let me know your opinion on it, but I feel some kind of way about that. I don't think we should be caught up in your political infighting. All right. How about some good news here? And then we'll take a quick break. Here's a little bit of good news. And it says, Maui nurses celebrate new contract with Maui Health. So they finally got the new contract. Maui nurses are calling the new 4-year contract they ratified today with Maui Health a huge victory. Raises total anywhere from 21 to nearly 100% over the life of the agreement for the nearly 900 employees of Maui Health System who work on the Valley, Isle, and Lanai. Sorry, I had to make that bigger. All units receive raises, which the bargaining team for nurses says was important. That's good. Especially the people who have connection to this island. There are people who grew up and go to nursing school here at Maui College, and then they leave the island for better paying jobs in more affordable areas. People born and raised here who want to stay here to get to the people who built the community here to be able to stay. I think it's tremendous. So the union has been without a contract since September 30th of 2024. CEO Lynn Fulton said, I want to recognize the tremendous work of both the bargaining teams to bring this to fruition and reach an agreement that affords competitive compensation to all job classifications represented across the bargaining unit. Our nurses and nurse leaders will continue to collaborate on staffing plans that are dynamic and flexible, ensuring that we can continue to provide exceptional health care to our community. So congratulations to them on getting their contract that works out for them and for the hospital. So I think that's great. Because now we have something going on in Michigan. This is from the Gander. And it says, Mid-Michigan Nurses Union to strike amid call for higher wages, unfair labor practice charge. About 2,000 nurses and healthcare professionals at Mid-Michigan's largest healthcare provider are set to go on a 5-day strike this month, while their union representative negotiate with corporate leaders to give them higher wages and better benefits. The Professional Employee Council of Sparrow Hospital Michigan Nurses Association on Tuesday provided notice to corporate officials at the University of Michigan Heights Sparrow that they intend to conduct a 5-day strike beginning on January 20th. The upcoming work stoppage, which is set to conclude on January 25th, is designed to serve as a sort of warning shot for hospital administrators who have reportedly failed to meet the union contract's demands for fair wages, access to reliable and affordable healthcare insurance coverage, and better safety and security features at the largest hospital in downtown Lansing. All the stuff that I just reported on, why we need all this stuff, it's right here. We're in this for the long haul. We're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our union siblings and fight this good fight, said Jen Ackley, a longtime nurse and member of the bargaining team. Health Sparrow, formerly Sparrow Health System, is the largest healthcare provider in mid-Michigan with more than 150 care sites and nearly 500 primary care providers and specialists serving patients across the region. So we'll keep an eye on this. There's a lot more to the story, so you can head on over there if you want to read it. But we're just running out of time. Okay, and so then let's get to our next story. Yes, we have to talk about this because, whoo, yeah, we have to talk about this one. But let's take a brief break. Are you ready for more? My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and the freedom to live your life on your own terms. Assisting you in achieving your goals through tailored advice, continuous learning, and a collaborative approach is at the heart of everything I do. Stop being eaten alive. Come feel the sun. Be a nurse shark. Okay, this is a follow-up to the Colonial Heights nursing home story. This is where they charged 18, I believe, healthcare workers, which I later found out that I heard that they were not nursing assistants, but they were all nurses. But let's get into it. Let's hear what it says. So the night nurse, who prosecutors said was the last hands on a nursing home patient before she became ill and died, was granted bond Tuesday morning and told to stay completely away from nursing care, the nursing home, or any of the other 17 defendants in the case. Shakima Freeman Brewer of Richmond is one of the 4 defendants jailed on the most serious of all charges, abuse of a vulnerable adult resulting in death, the second of them to be granted bond. General District Judge Matthew Nelson set the unsecured bond at $5,000 and ordered Brewer to take part in pretrial services, including alcohol and drug screening. This is As a publication time, online court records indicate Brewer had not yet been released from Riverside's regional jail in Prince George County. She was not physically in court, but took part in the hearing via teleconference from the jail. This was reported today at 4:30 a.m. Okay. The victim was a 74-year-old resident of Colonial Heights Rehabilitation Nursing Center who suffered from cerebral palsy and diabetes. In late September, she was taken to Bond Seacourt Southside Medical Center in Petersburg with necrotic pressure ulcers, also known as bed sores, around her private area that doctors determined were caused by prolonged exposure to urine and feces that center staff failed to clean. In October, she later then died of sepsis related to the bed sores. One of 4 Colonial Heights nursing home employees jailed for abuse gets bond. After an investigation, Colonial Heights Police, joined by State Elders Abuse Task Force, raided the facility on December the 18th. 18 people, including the center's director, the head of nursing, and another care provider, were arrested on various charges of abuse, neglect, falsifying records, and obstructing the legal process. This is what burns me up, okay? So in court Tuesday morning, Deputy Commonwealth's Attorney Noel Nachiaski told the judge that Brewer was the last nurse to tend to the victim before she was taken to the hospital. She was the last hands on the case. That night, the victim was unresponsive and lethargic, yet Brewer told the nurse who relieved her that she is doing great and there were no issues. Then the day nurse came in and saw something was wrong. At that point, the woman was taken to SMC, where the bed sores were detected. She underwent surgery to remove most of her private area. The attorney later went on and said the victim's wounds were so grotesque that doctors first thought it was an assault. Because of her cerebral palsy, the victim was unable to move herself and was supposed to be lifted from her bed to a chair by a special machine. However, an investigation found that the machine was never used, and the only time the victim was removed from her bed, it was done by 2 orderlies who broke her foot in the process. So now they were not using the lift device and actually lifting her when they weren't supposed to do so. After the surgery, she was put in a home hospice care, so she would not have needed had it not been for her wounds. In addition to the abuse, a felony, Brewer was charged with 5 counts of falsifying patient records. She said those records were falsified to cover up the repeated neglect. In making the case for her defense, her attorney, Edward Nickel, noted that Brewer had a previous felony conviction on her record, driving under the influence in 2016, but she adhered to all conditions surrounding that conviction and had not been arrested until December 18th in the nursing home. Nickel also said that there was some dispute over what her specific role was in the care of the victim. Since overnight staff is smaller than a regular day shift, Brewer was often responsible for as many as 60 patients at a time. That is what had me gobsmacked. So you're going to tell me you're going to have one nurse that's supposed to be responsible for 60 patients on a night shift, and you expect quality care to have happened? And again, you're going after the nurses that are trying their best to take care of these residents and not going after the very system that caused the problem in the first place. So all I have to say to you is, nurses, you need to protect yourselves. You need to protect yourselves. So in Brewer's release, that will make Shawanda Jeter, the center's director, and Danielle Klein Harris, another nurse at the center, the only 2 defendants remaining in custody. Kamisha Michelle Cottrell, a nursing supervisor at the center, was granted bond on December 30th. The remaining 14 defendants were all released on bond or recognizance on charges of either falsifying records or obstructing the legal process. And again, don't fill out things and say you did things when you didn't do them and change the time when it was done. No. You put it in there, and if you have to put it as a late entry, do that, but you should document as you go along. I know it's hard. I know there's a lot to do, but this is to save your bottom, okay? Because you don't want this to come up. Okay. All right. I've got to go. I've got a meeting starting in just a moment, but I want to go one more story. Yeah, this is going to be our last story. And then we're going to be out of here. Texas governor scolds hospital after doctor goes viral on TikTok. After a TikTok video in which a Texas physician informed the public of their right to not respond to a citizenship question on the hospital intake forms went viral, Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, fired back on social media. In a post on X on Monday, Abbott wrote, "Hey, Texas Children's Hospital and Baylor College of Medicine, this doctor is putting your Medicaid and Medicare funding at risk. You better think twice and have it crystal clear records. There'll be consequences for failing to follow the law in the executive order." The law, which took effect on November 1st, requires hospitals that receive Medicaid or Children's Health Insurance Program funding to ask patients whether they are in the U.S. legally and to track the cost of treating patients who are not. Patients who can decline to provide this information, and hospital employees must tell them that the response will not affect their care. The new law has raised concerns about creating further distrust in healthcare providers, doctors previously told MedPage Today, where I've received this article. Texas Children's Hospital issued a statement noting that it, quote, fully supports Governor Abbott's new executive order and is in full compliance. We have worked closely with the Texas Hospital Association and our industry partners across the state to ensure compliance in advance of the effective date. While we recognize that the individuals working at Texas Children's Hospital hold their own personal views on many topics, those opinions do not necessarily reflect the official position of Texas Children's Hospital. We will continue to prioritize patient care while ensuring that we are in full compliance with all laws and legal directives. In the video, which is no longer available, Tony Pastor, MD, said he sometimes goes viral for cute videos of my boyfriend and our dog and fun stories about residency, but this video is a little different. I'm hoping the algorithm will do its thing because it's very important. He goes on to explain that any patient who comes to the hospital has to click a box, basically, that is on the intake form. It says, are you a U.S. citizen? Are you not a U.S. citizen? There is no third option that says rather not disclose. It's either or. It has made all of us physicians and providers super uncomfortable. No one has told us what people are going to do with this information. And so that then begs the question, let me know what you think about it. Let's talk about it. That's going to end our show for today because we are over our time. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.